I'm just using your Zoom. I'll send him the Zoom link. And recording. Zoom also. Zoom does not have a YouTube, but it needs that. Needs that?
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Hare Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Hare Govinda Jaya Radha Shyamasundara Radha Shyamasundara Jaya Radha Shyamasundara Shyamasundara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Gopinato Radha Gopinato Radha Gopinato Radha Gopinato Radha Jaya Radha Gokulananda Dasa Gokulananda Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Jaya Radha Ramano Radha Ramano Jaya Radha Ramano Jaya Madhava Madhava Radha Madhava Jaya Radha 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 Jaya 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 Radha Radha Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Krishna Balala Krishna Balala Krishna Balala Jaya Krishna Balala Jaya Krishna Balala Krishna Balala Krishna Balala Krishna Balala Jaya Guru Govindan, Guru Govindan, Guru Govindan, Jaya Guru Govindan. Jaya Gaudiya, 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 Gaudiya. Oh, Gaudiya, Jaya Gaudiya, Gaudiya.
ये आप लेना था।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Gauranga. Hare Krishna, everybody. Now, on the next part of the program, we have a class, but it's mostly like a presentation from Gayatri Mataji, and she has been practicing Krishna consciousness for quite a while, and today she's sharing with us, her realization. There are some come in the green aspect, and she will try to share with us. And please hear attentively, and then later there will be some time for question or comment.
Sapitam Bhutale Nayamrupa Kadamahyam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Saharachatam Sahadanam Purabhavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Raham Lalita Shri Vishakhavitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Banta Jagatate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Sute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangir Rishvadano Sutade Pranamani Hari Priya Anshakalpa Parubhyasha Kripa Sindhuvya Rasha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol, dear devotees. First of all, I would like to say that I'm not qualified to speak in front of you. So if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. So this is my attempt to speak about our mind. So the verse of Bhagavad Gita, which I would like to discuss today upon, is Bhagavad Gita 6:34. Chanchalam Himanah Krishna Pramati Balavad Dham Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayor Iva Sud. So in this verse, Krishna's friend Arjuna, he was a mighty warrior. He was not only strong physically, but he had very strong willpower. However, in this verse, Arjuna is confessing to Krishna that his mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. And he says, "Oh Krishna, to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind." So what to say to us, regular people? We are not so mighty as Arjuna. What can we do with our minds? So to become a devotee has to follow a few principles. And not just the principles. When you start following the principles, then after that there are more instructions. So whenever we try to change our life according to these instructions, we start understanding that it is not so easy, that our mind creates obstacles on our path. So today I would like to discuss techniques of our mind and its manipulations, how it manipulates and makes us do things which we do not want to do. So usually the mind has two main techniques. It's either rebels against us. So but you can hear such a voice in your head, like, "I'm fed up with it. I'm not doing this anymore. So I don't want to do it. I'm not going to continue," and period. So that's one technique. And another technique is that the mind can take more humble, childlike position, and he very humbly talks to you. And he says, "Okay, no one can completely abstain from it. Let's just watch this piece of news for 5 minutes." Or he says, "Let's just try this, just one piece of this cookie. Or let's just try to drink one drop of this." So that's the main techniques of the mind. And I would like to ask you, what are the habits that devotees struggle to develop, or that devotees try to get rid of? What can you help me? What are those habits?
Consistently waking up early in the morning and finishing it up finally.
Great. Who else can help? What other habits you devotees struggle to develop? Regulations. So I actually took a list from Prangavindas Prabhu's Facebook page, and he has such a list. Why am I unhappy in Krishna consciousness? So these are some of the reasons, which, some of the habits that devotees have struggled with. Srimati Gaurangi, can you read the one on the left?
Why I'm happy in Krishna consciousness?
Unhappy.
Vaishnava aparatha, finding faults or judging devotees, breaking regulative principles, bad japa, eating
Unoffered.
food, no devotee association, reading
Reading mundane literature, but also it could be watching mundane movies or browsing over mundane social networks or anything. So these are something that devotees struggle. Also, there are other things which we might want to change, which are not so high, but more down to earth, that not only the devotees, but the people go to. It's going to the gym or exercising, dieting, reading Krishna conscious books on a daily occasion, working on your character, going to sleep at the proper time, or waking up at the proper time, or limiting the time we spend over the internet. So as soon as we try to make a change in our life, we understand that our mind either rebels or tries in a nice way, push away the new habits and keep trying the old habits. And I wanted just to give you a comparison, how old response to a situation different from a new response. When we have, for example, the person is easily gets offended, the person easily gets angry. So there is a situation, and an old response can be compared to a highway, because the situation happens and we get angry like that. Or, for example, if someone has a habit of being rude, the situation happens and this old response come out very easily. The new response can be compared to a jungle where you're standing with machete and you're trying to make a new road. So I wanted to also bring to your attention that in order to start a new habit or break an old habit, there are a few time frames that you have to be aware of. The first time frame is 40 days, which is uninterrupted. After you maintain your habit for 40 days, this habit stops becoming painful to you. For example, if waking up early in the morning at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock is difficult, after 40 days, it's becoming not painful. If avoiding white sugar is difficult to you, after 40 days, you stop having this very strong cravings. So that's the first period of time. The next period of time is 1 year. So if you keep your habit for 1 year, even if you break this habit once, you still will be able to maintain it. Even you have a breakdown, one day you will still be able to keep up next day or the following day. However, you should be also attentive that during the 1 year, if you keep on just enjoying this feeling that you feel that you can you can break your habit 1 day, 2nd day, 3rd day, if you do it for a long time, you will fall down to day 0 of your new habit. And the last period is 12 years. It's the one circle of Jupiter around the sun, when the Jupiter goes around its orbit. And most likely, if you kept your new habit for this time, you won't go back to it anymore. Okay, so here are the 10 tricks or manipulations of the mind and the strategies that you can use to deal with it, to continue your sadhana with determination and enthusiasm. So I will be speaking about different strategies. Mostly I will use some scientific examples, which I found in the book by Kelly McGonigal. She has book of The Power of Will. And also this lecture, my lecture or this presentation which I'm giving, I mostly build it on the presentation of another Vaishnava whose name is Nimai Sundara Prabhu. So I just wanted to give credit to them. So the first manipulation of our mind is the mind likes to tell you, look at everyone. Everyone likes to do this. Everyone is doing it. Just look around. It's not a problem that you just do the same thing everyone else does it. So just for the information, 66% of the people in the United States are overweight. And it's very easy to be or become overweight in the United States just because many people around you have extra weight. We can, to this, basically, if you look at the different countries, every country has its own problem. We can, here we can talk about also the peer pressure. When kids go to school at the college, they are pressurized by their peers to behave in a certain way to fit into the society. And how do they behave? They just look at the common, the popular people who are stars right now, and they, majority of teenagers, they just follow their idols, and they also pressurize others to behave this way. Sometimes we can talk about the toxic atmosphere at work. For example, it is at some workplace, it is common to be rude. And when a lot of people are doing the same thing, it's very easy to justify yourself to do wrong. So what do we do? We actually need to talk to our mind quietly, and we need to explain to our mind that many wrong actions do not make things right. So there are many wrong things that casually are done by many people, and you just need to tell your mind that's because just everyone is doing it, it's still not right. Okay, number 2 in the list is excessive guilt is a friend of temptation. What do I mean? I will give some scientific explanation. There was scientists who were discovering people. They were actually they were experimenting, and they took a group of people who were determined to lose weight. Then they were tempted just to eat one small piece of chocolate. So because they ate this small piece, which contained sugar, their guilt was so much that it drove the people into depression. And usually this situation, guilt entices desire to take shelter in the habit that one is trying to get rid of. So because they ate small piece of chocolate, they felt so much guilt that under the influence of this guilt, they were eating the entire cake afterwards. So the mind is basically telling you, okay, I promised myself that I would strictly follow this principle every day, and I couldn't. I'm so fallen. So because of this, as a result of this depression, mind tries to find refuge in some kind of satisfaction of the wrong habit, and the attachment to this habit intensifies. So also one thing is that through excessive blaming yourself, your mind tries to find a way to leave the things the way they are, because your mind subconsciously is telling you, okay, you just I just blamed yourself so much. I already punished myself enough that I don't have to change myself. So that's one of the tricks of the mind. So what do you do with this excessive guilt? Before, it's good to discuss and negotiate with your mind in advance how you're going to deal if you fail or if you violate a certain principle that you decided to follow very strictly. So first of all, you can say that, okay, even if I fail one day, I should forgive myself for that. And even if one fails to maintain a good habit, he should always remember his great goal that he's following. And for devotee, the great goal is his good sadhana. Even if the devotee is trying to go to the gym, a devotee is trying to start a family, or anything that a devotee is doing is to make his sadhana better. So we always have to keep this main goal in our mind. You can also discuss the situation with someone who is superior to you or with your guru. Maybe at this point you took too much of the goal. The goal is too heavy for you, too high for you. Maybe you just need to reduce the load. Also, every breakdown is the opportunity to become humbler. And we know that humility is the sign of the spiritual knowledge. And one can admit that he is a dependent small parcel of the Supreme, and he has his own weaknesses and imperfections, and he sometimes needs help of other people, and mostly Krishna's help. But Krishna gives this determination and strength. Also, you should not confuse this principle with healthy self-introspection or healthy self-analysis. You can, if you sometimes do something wrong, it's very good to have the self-introspection to analyze what you have done wrong. However, not to confuse with this excessive guilt. Okay. Number 3, it's perfectionism can be a friend of bad habits. So when a person tries to change himself, he can see, okay, today I maintained my new habit. I maintained this principle. Tomorrow I'm maintaining this principle. And, so it can go for a week or 2 weeks. And then one day you see it didn't happen. So this perfectionism, actually our mind enjoys when everything is perfect. So when there is a day when we have to admit that, we failed, the mind doesn't like it at all. So what can mind say into your ear? Well, since we have failed today, we failed to keep up with your goal today. So what we're gonna do? Let's just indulge in this habit just today, without limit. Or if we are failing today anyhow, and tomorrow we are starting the new day, let's just do a bunch of stupid things today, because anyhow today is we are crossing out today from the calendar. So that's what the mind is saying sometimes. So what is the solution to this? If you look at these 2 pictures, the first picture is the sparkling, clean kitchen. But if you look at this carefully, somewhere on the table there is a bread crumb. So you can tell to your mind, my dear mind, according to your logic, because there is a small breadcrumb in the middle of the table, just because there is a breadcrumb, instead of just removing it, what we need to do, let's just make a mess, let's just create a mess in the entire kitchen. That's according to the same logic that you are just whispering into my ears. Or, for example, you wanted to wake up for your prayer at a certain time, and you see that you woke up 15 minutes later than you planned, and then you think, okay, now my entire morning program is collapsed. So let me just sleep till 8 o'clock because everything is collapsed. So in that time, you just explain to your mind, no, that's a bad argument. So the principle number 4 is to burn the bridges, or in other words, is to notice the triggers, something that triggers your mind to behave in a certain way which is not beneficial to you. And then you look at these triggers and then you try to avoid them. For example, you have taken a vow or a decision to change your life or to get away from the old habit, and you're going in the right direction. And then you notice that there are certain situations which trigger you, behave in a way that you fail to maintain your habit, that you break your wall, you have some breakdown of your healthy habit. So you can notice that there are certain situations when your mind starts begging you very intensely to do something, and in advance, if you get into the situation, you will fail in this battle, and you will lose in the battle between your mind, because your mind will intensely start asking to just get this done, whatever he wants. For example, you notice that when you go when you try to go to sleep, for example, your mind is telling you, okay, let's just read one piece of news for 5 minutes and then we're done. And you notice you start reading 5 minutes news, and then you say, okay, let me see what are the new videos on YouTube. You go to YouTube and you think, okay, baby, let me read what the latest book. And then at the middle of the night, you realize that you're watching some TV show, and your day is gone. So your habit is broken. Or sometimes you're going to the store to buy healthy food, but the route that you're taking, it has like a grocery store which has croissants and bunch of cookies, and and when you're going to your healthy store, you are determined, but suddenly you feel the smell of this croissant, and what your mind, you're telling, okay, let just try a little bit. So you say, okay, today I'll try, and the same happens tomorrow, and the same the day after tomorrow. So one more thing is that you can also notice that you, for example, you tend to shout at your children or shout at your spouse when you're hungry or when you are tired from work. So you decide, okay, how can I avoid the situation? I'm gonna try and choose a different route when I go to the healthy store to buy healthy food, or I will try to avoid talking to my spouse on serious topics when I'm hungry or when I'm tired. And number three, you just when your mind starts telling you to go and check the news for 5 minutes, you will tell your mind, okay, nothing is going to happen so serious overnight. We will just read this news tomorrow when we have time. So the trick number 5 is called carrot and stick. Yes, so that's something that you can give the encouragement to yourself or a treat to yourself and punishment. So if you decide to transform your habit, you will have to negotiate very wisely in with your mind so that you create a win-win situation for yourself. And how do we create win-win situation? For example, you're telling the mind, okay, I want to practice this habit, like waking up early for 40 days, so it becomes easier for me. And you're telling your mind, all right, if you succeed to maintain this habit for 40 days, at the end, I will give you a treat. For example, I will go to a spa salon or something. But if you fail to succeed, I'm going to make you do something unpleasant to you. So number one rule is that the treat should not be contradicting to the principle that you are trying to reach. For example, if you are trying to avoid sugar, your treat at the end of this 40 days should not be a cake. If you're making up a punishment for your mind, it should not be an unhealthy punishment, and it should not be too strict. But for example, it can be something that you procrastinated on. Like for example, you have a pile of papers that you need to deal with, but there is no deadline, and you are always postponing it. So you can say, okay, if I fail in this 40 days to keep my habits, I'll do this. I will get down to these papers and I will sort them out. So, and every time during these 40 days, when you're trying to change the habit, every time the mind is whispering you, okay, let's just go away from this. It's like, if you wait just for a little bit, you will actually get a treat. And all these treats, they actually have to be well thought in advance. They should not be spontaneous. Okay. The tactic number 6, I call it deception of a rat, or you can call it dopamine trap, or promise of enjoyment. Dopamine is the hormone which is released by our part of our brain. And do you know this cartoon? Does anyone know? Okay, so this was the cartoon. There was a normal mouse. It behaved normally. However, when it smelled the cheese, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't control himself anymore. He just had to go and get the cheese and eat it. So, just also for the information, in 1960s, the scientists were doing different experiments. They took a mouse and they connected an electrode to the certain part of its brain, And the mouse was pressing this button to stimulate a certain part of the brain. When the mouse, when the rat had got the access to this button, it kept on pressing the button, and it pressed it until it's just died, because it pressed it more than 8,000 times. So initially the mouse, yes, initially the scientists, they were thinking that this part of the brain which the mouse was trying to stimulate was responsible for enjoyment, but later on they realized that part was responsible for the releasing of dopamine, which is hormone of promising certain enjoyment. So the mouse was constantly promised certain type of enjoyment, but it never got the enjoyment. So what do we need to understand? So when the brain releases this dopamine hormone, it makes the person focus on the promise of how great everything is going to be, and it's not paying attention to the real experience. So at this time, when the dopamine is released, mind is showing you different pictures of how you're going to be enjoying. And for example, I can give an example of a pizza. Let's say the person is trying to not to eat after it's dark. And at certain time, for example, at 10 o'clock, the mind starts bringing you a picture of a pizza, and it looks like in a haze, everything is pinky, and your mind is showing you the way how the slice of pizza is stretches with the cheese. So, and the mind is telling you, okay, if you eat pizza right now, this is going to be the most wonderful experience you can get in this life. And what you do, you believe your mind, and you will say, okay, let me just get this most wonderful experience. So when you start eating this pizza, you realize that actually this experience is not as wonderful as the mind had been painting it. You start seeing that, okay, this is just like a regular pizza, a piece of dough with some cheese on it, and it's not as great. So what scientists recommend you to do, you should be aware of this dopamine trap. And every time when you feel this dissatisfaction with this particular experience, the scientists advise you to write a message how you feel in this particular moment. For example, you felt at night that you need to go to the social media and spend in the social network for 2 hours, and then you woke up really late in the morning. So you can write down how you feel that you destroyed your sadhana, that you couldn't do the sadhana in the morning. So you write all of these feelings, and the next time when you feel the urge at night to go and browse the internet, you just read this message that you prepared for yourself. Okay, number 7. Number 7 is just this manipulation is called, or this trick is called just wait for some time. So again, the scientists found out that when food lovers are offered delicious cookies, the immediate response is to eat this cookie, because the mind is telling you, okay, I want. And from 80 to 90% of people, they actually eat this cookie. However, if you tell your mind, let's just wait for 10 minutes, in this during this period of time, your intelligence actually starts telling you, okay, let's just remember our goal. We're trying to have healthy diet, and you remember tomorrow you have some important meeting if you want to be good in this meeting. So your intelligence starts giving different arguments on why you shouldn't do it. So they also noted that if people wait just for 10 minutes, the attraction of this cookie loses by 60–70%. So just wait for some time. Next is meet your future self. So try to think to yourself, what kind of person will you be in 10–20 years? I will give you 5 seconds Try to answer the questions to yourself. What will your health be in 10, 20 years? What your financial situation is going to be? What kind of relationship with your family and friends will you have? Or how advanced you will get in Krishna consciousness? Just 5 seconds I'm going to give you. And the result is that when people are asked, when scientists actually ask people to describe themselves in 10, 20 years, they realize they actually also connected some electrodes to their head, and they realize that when people describe this person, they do not see a connection between themselves and this person. That those parts of the brain were working who are responsible for the description of another person, not themselves. So each person would say, "Oh, I would be so healthy, I would be so rich," and it had no connections to what habits they really are. So we should really understand that when we really understand that the person, if we describe ourselves in 20 years, we should start contributing to that future self today. And the solution to our correct understanding what our tendency are going to be in 10, 20 years, we can actually write a list of our habits that we have, and we can think, where is this habit leading us? Where is this habit is taking us? For example, if someone has a habit of eating at 10 o'clock in the evening all the time, then is this habit leading him to have a healthy body in 20 years, or is it going to lead him to have some disease? If a person has a habit to get angry easily, is this habit going to lead him to have good relationship at work and at home, or is it going to be something else? So what they want you to do, what they want you to understand, today you should start doing something that your future self will be thankful to you. So you need to write down a description of the person you want to be. And you need to think what habits this person should have right now, so that in 20 years it reaches this destination. So we should always remember that all long-term changes are usually made by small steps. And we should be aware that every action is either right now, it's either debiting or crediting your account that you're going to have in 10, 20 years. So strategy number 9 is that our mind has a tendency to keep score of our good deeds. So again, scientists took a group of people and they were offered to make a donation for a good cause. People made the donation. Later on, they reminded these people about some achievements that they made in the past. They gave them some praise, and they asked them to donate again for different good cause. So the donations actually they reduced by 60% than what people did at the first time. And what the scientists realized that our mind believe that if we have done something in one field, then in other field we can do something wrong because we have already done something good in another field. I mean, they're not connected. One field is not connected to the other field, but it's like the person, who has the cups and the ball. The mind shows you, okay, here you go. You did something good here. It's not connected to this, but see, you did something good there. Now you can, you can relax in another field. But also you need to explain your mind that there is no connection between the previous good deeds and the situation right now, that these are two different things. And you need to say, my dear mind, if we have done something good, the best strategy is just to forget about it. And the last thing is excessive excitement over intermediate success is the path to failure. Again, the scientists have studied women who wanted to lose weight. And at some point that they already achieved certain success, they showed them their results, how far they went. They praised them, and then they offered them to they gave them a choice. They gave them a small piece of, they gave them apple, and then they gave them a cake, and they asked them, what do you want to eat? So the majority of the women who were reminded of their path, which they already underwent, they chose cake over the apple. So the cure to this manipulation of the mind is to always see the continuation of your development. And you should always have next to you someone who is superior than you, or someone who's more advanced in this habit than you, so that you see that you still have a place to for development. And the last thing which I wanted to stress is that when we choose to change our life, when we choose to accommodate our life to the principles of Vaishnavas, the most important thing, of course, I was talking about these manipulations of the mind, but the most important thing, and our acceleration button is in everything, is the prayer. Our true prayer, and if we combine both the psychological achievements, the scientific achievements, and the prayer, the true plea to God for help, then it's going to work the best. And in this, I want to conclude this presentation. Hare Krishna. Maybe you have a question for me. Thank you, Mataji. What do you want to know about it? You see, I also have my points of losing and winning this battle with the mind. Of course, I try to wake up and start my sadhana at 5 o'clock in the morning. And our sadhana mostly consists of 16 rounds of japa, of meditation. Japa basically is chanting holy names, right? That, so I don't know if you answer the question. That's the main point, and everything else has to, the way Vaishnavas lead, they try to arrange the entire day or their entire life so that this 2 hours in the morning go well, go the best way if possible. Yeah.
Some very interesting points, and I've also studied psychological studies there, because I find that the ones that are meaningful are very consistent with the Bhakti principle. For instance, one study talks about the 4 pillars of a meaningful life. I think a lot of people struggle, devotees and otherwise, with the fact that they're not living a meaningful life. They don't really feel like they're accomplishing in life. Well, even they are accomplishing, satisfied with them. So, according to scientific study, they found 4 pillars for meaningful life, and I think it's very consistent with the Bhakti principle. The first one is belonging to a community. And across the board, there's Harvard studies, Yale studies, University of Michigan studies, across the board. In this science of well-being, which is very popular amongst the psychological community, they found that to be very consistent. So it's the pillar of cultivating a meaningful life is to belong to a positive community. Now, when we talk about Vaishnava, it is a very significant aspect of our life to be involved. Like, for instance, this community here, we regularly have meetings together, children play together, and there's so many dynamics, to a community life. And when you find that sangha, that community, it's a pillar of living a meaningful life. The second point that is there is purpose. And I find this to be very significant, because I remember the transition in my life was when Shil directly gave me a purpose. I was practicing Bhakti, I was doing my sadhana, and then I had a meeting with and he instilled the direct purpose, and it was to give people Krishna consciousness, new people Krishna consciousness, always be attentive for the opportunity. So we have purpose, so belonging to a community, purpose, very consistent with Vaishnavism. The third one is you need a transcendental experience. In other words, most people become bored with their life because every day they're doing the same thing. They call it the rut. We fall into a rut of doing the same thing over and over again. And in contrary to that principle are the people who are so so afraid of the rut, they're constantly trying to do stimulating things. So they call them adrenaline junkies. And we find that those people are even more unhappy than the people who are in the rut, because the result of adrenaline junkie is more and more and more, and it never really brings fulfillment. It may bring quick fix, a quick hit, of adrenaline rush, but in terms of what we're really looking for, fulfillment. And that's like the old story about the person who travels and travels, and where do they end up? Going back home. And they're all because there's no fulfillment. The travels is going it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating going here, going there, but the fulfillment that comes in being home is an amazing. So the transcendental experience, the extraordinary experience, is not without, it's within. And that's in Patanjali's Sutras, and Pratyahara, one of the 8 limbs or steps of meditation. Pratyahara is to look within, not always to look within.
And the fourth pillar?
And the fourth pillar is story. And that means, very consistent with what you're talking about, what kind of internal dialogue do you cultivate?
Oh, what's your story?
What's your
inner
story? What's your story? What is the story that you
tell you?
Yeah, what you're cultivating. Now, if we analyze, a lot of us get into the rut by cultivating a negative story. And we repeat that over and over again, we buy into that negative story. When we know that if we have a little bit of determination, the kind of determination we need comes from Sattva Guna. And Sattva Guna is developed by proper lifestyle, proper diet, proper lifestyle, proper association, etc. And then we develop a kind of determination which gives us clarity. In other words, I am applying this determination because I'm convinced that it will bring the best for me. You mentioned these points, a lot of these points within, but I found these 4 pillars of meaningful life. Having a great story, having an experience of transcendence that's above and beyond what we're doing, purpose in life, what is our purpose in life, and keeping proper association, developing a community that is encouraging, empowering, and enthusing. Those 3, I call them the 3 E's: encouragement, empowerment, and enthusiasm. And you cannot look for a teacher unless that teacher encourages you, empowers you. You cannot accept a teacher unless that teacher encourages you, empowers you, and enthuses you. All of them.
And that
Thank
makes
you for the
life
very
easy.
Because life is, we make it difficult. We complicate it by virtue of the mind, and the mind's tendency, allowing the mind's tendency. And another point that you were making, there is a scientific study also that said that a child that is able to develop 10 minutes of strength, they've consistently found if you develop at a young age the ability to restrain in your child. The children that develop 10 minutes of strength, when they're 13, 14, 15 years old, they're doing far better in many ways, academically, emotionally, etc., than their peers.
Which was the marshmallow experiment, right?
We did with the mark.
They actually, that person did this experiments, I think in Trinidad, and he found out that community of Indians who lived there had much more capability of restraining themselves, and they were much more successful than other people who lived there.
So I mean, it's a good, lesson for parents. That one of the things that we can do is try to cultivate within our own lifestyle, within our own environment, so that the children are able to develop this thing.
People, thank you for the input.
You mentioned about, when we do something, the deal factor. This is, it's like, you putting poison in it. The deal factor. Toxic poison. And we are human, we say human air. It's a tendency, we will make mistake. That means, knowing that we will make mistake, that's perfect meaning. We should understand that we will make mistake again, again. Maybe mistake will not be the same amount of mistake, but we will maybe reduce in size. Then the principle that is Prabhu will talk about that is 4 E's. I will talk about the 4 R. We have to recognize that we made a mistake. We have to recognize that. And then also we have to rectify. Okay? Let's say we do something wrong. If we don't recognize, we will continue to it, and maybe we can hurt someone. We can the mistake can go bigger and bigger. I mean, once we start to recognize that we made a mistake, then we try to rectify. Okay, of course, in the rectification, and in the course of rectification, there's something that we have to, let's say if we hurt someone, we have to ask for forgiveness. Because if we don't ask for forgiveness, then this guilt will not go away. And the guilt will actually grow and grow, it become more toxic and poisonous. We're killing ourselves. But if we go and we ask them for forgiveness, what happens is we get a relief, we get a relief right there. Because the first time that we have we did something, it's okay, it's not a problem. It's okay. It's okay. While this connection, this connection and hugging, working like that, that empowerment also that make us feel good. Then once we forgive and then we rectify, we reinstate. Reinstate means that we forget what happened and we move forward. This is something that is very important. We have to move forward. Moving forward means you leave behind at the back, the guilt, everything. That's why our eyes is on our face, not at the back of our head. We don't see at the back, we see forward. We move forward, we leave everything at the back, and we go, as we said, also the sadhana. Whatever context it is, if you apply these 4 E's and the 4 R's, you will definitely make progress. Again, forgive and forget, look forward, move forward, and continue to pray. Because prayer, you can do whatever you want. If there is no prayer, the purpose of the purpose. There is no prayer, that means purpose as well. If there is no purpose in life, it's just like you go in your car, you start the car, let's say you bought a very fancy car. What is the fanciest car?
Bugatti.
Bugatti or whatever you call it. You bought in the nicest car, you get in the car, and then you start, and then you say, oh, where am I going? Okay, I want to try the car, but there's no destination. You should not be like that. You have to have a purpose in life. And then we put towards this purpose, this goal. I mean, if we put all these buckets, the mind also plays a lot of tricks, I would say. But we have the right, we say guru, I mean, the person that will instruct you. Okay, guru has many forms. Like you are talking, you are a guru right now. Because we are all listening to you. Okay? It doesn't matter that sometimes we say, oh, I'm qualification is a guru. Actually, everybody is a guru. Even your kid can be your guru. But you have to learn from them. I mean, from what you mentioned, I think we integrate that in our life. We can go over Sadhana. Correct. This is what we are trying to do at the end of the day. We have to have the first words at the right time.
On the other hand,
My wife and I always argue about lifestyle because we're very strict. Everybody knows that he's not always got a sword in your hand and not to do this. So if you get the Ayurvedic instruction, I always run it down. Give me instructions like this. So I said to her, "You're not my Ayurvedic." And, that was this morning. You're right. So she gave me her guru, one of her Ayurvedic gurus, who is now my Ayurvedic doctor. So we had the first meeting between my wife and my Ayurvedic guru, who was her guru. So she had to have a second guru. So the Ayurvedic doctor said, "What's the problem?" I said, "My wife is imposing these things, and I just feel like that's." So, yeah, and my wife said, "Everything I'm telling is correct. And it will be the best. He's 73 years old. He should follow these things. He'll be great health." So, the Ayurvedic doctors. You have 3 cheat days, she tells me. I come on for 3 cheat days. And my wife like, yeah, she's like starting to recoil in the bed. No, for you should have 3 cheat days. Now for us, cheat days means, what does the cheat day mean? It means I can eat potatoes. And tomatoes. That's a cheat day. That, just to give you an idea of how strict our lifestyle is. That's a cheat day. So the Ayurvedic doctor said, "You should have 3 cheat days," and she told my wife, "You can't sit." He goes and he eats for potato, you can't sit. The important thing is to know for ourselves what is our nature, and to find the proper balance. Because if we restrict ourselves so much, then we fail. We get depressed by that together. So bhakti means like a rocket ship. Oh, a rocket ship, in order to break gravity, has to always progress. As soon as a rocket ship stops in its progression, gravity pulls back. So we have to orchestrate our life in such a way, structure our life in such a way that it's always progressing. Even if it's baby steps, it will always be progressing. And we're all different natures. Some are pitta, some are vata, some are kapha, some are a combination. We're all different people. We have to find that balance. So that we can
You have to say the progress, the small step to the right hand.
And Buddha says, if you're facing in the right direction, keep walking.
Prayer in mood, what mode? Thinking, I mean, for me, always is about it. Understanding all this concept, and also saying that okay, without your help, you know, I can do whatever this program I have looked at, without your mercy, if you don't help me, I can't do it. I can try, but your mercy is very important. That's the prayerful mood. That is the important part. So all this, what I said, 1 to 10, right? 1 to 9, we can try. The tenth is very important, which acts, which connects everything and gives power, is mercy. So you always have to play in the mood of, please, it's only your mercy, you bless, only then you can achieve all of it. So that is something. And
I can just add something to that. Like, you know, people practice that 99% recover effort. 1% much more than the 99%. That's what they are.
Part of the program, we go out.
Otherwise, there's a medical conference in Miami. Oh, working. We're going to see her now. I'm gonna be leaving my son.
How?
श्री राधा गोविंदा की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। कृष्ण पदाय कृष्ण प्रसाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी इति नामे कृष्ण पदाय कृष्ण प्रसाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी इति नामे प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा पश्चादेशता सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रभु प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रभु नित्यानंद कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare